What I have here is a 50-inch, or possibly 52-inch, Snow White Casablanca Panama ceiling fan from April of 1994. This ceiling fan came from Habitat for $0.00. It came with another Panama in antique brass and an ornate original. All three of those fans were free, which was awesome. And I made an Instagram post about the other two fans, but this one didn't make it into the post because I didn't have enough room in my car for all three, so I had to come back later for this one. But here this one is. And it came with that light you see on it. The globe is one of my own, but the fitter came with it. And as it being a fan from Habitat, it was missing a few things. I didn't see a hang true or a bracket for it anywhere, but I do have a spare hang true in Snow White from the fan store, and it didn't have any blades to hold the, screws to hold the blades to the flywheel. But I was able to get some screws from my local hardware store that work just fine. Pretty much the only thing I have to complain about them is the fact that they're a silver color, so they pop out a lot more than the usual brownish black Casablanca screws. And I actually I haven't been to the hardware store in a while. I just had some spares lying around. And I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but there actually weren't enough of them, so some of them have the regular brown screws in them that I had to borrow off of one of my other Casablanca fans. I don't know if you can see that from there, but maybe you can tell the brown screws versus the more silverish screws up there. And it also didn't come with an Intellitouch switch, but I was able to borrow one from a Casablanca Delta 3 I have that is currently under repair due to a bad board, so in the meantime I can, I guess, use the switch on this fan. I've heard cross-contaminating Intellitouch switches isn't necessarily the best thing to do, but I'd rather do this than shell out like $75 on eBay for another one. Anyways, I guess I'll demonstrate the fan now. There is the light. And yeah, this thing is mounted on a J-hook, so it isn't very like stable. Like it's not gonna fall or anything, but like it's not very like set solid. Like it is gonna like jerk around a lot while it's up there, if that makes sense. Okay, now we'll put it on speed 1. And one thing that is kind of interesting about this fan is that if you leave it on speed 1 long enough, it'll eventually slow down and stop spinning. And I think that might be due to the fact that the bearings in this fan aren't that great. It does make a lot of noise on the higher speeds of bearings. Oddly enough, it has a pretty long spin down time though. So I don't know if that's like if the Intellitouch board is a tad faulty, or maybe it's the maybe the bearings in the motor like aren't like there's like too much friction in the motor, and like the little power that it gets on speed 1 like isn't enough to move it after a while. I don't really know exactly what it is, but anyways, bump it up to speed 2. And you can already start, I don't know if the camera can hear it, but I can already hear it. I can already hear some bearing noises. I did put some WD-40 in there to try and smooth them out. It didn't do a whole lot, but it did make them a bit better. I might put some more WD-40 or perhaps some zoom spout in there later. speed 3. Excuse me. And speed 3, it does have a bit of a wobble to it due to I think some of the blades being slightly uneven with one another. And since this thing isn't on a traditional hang true instead of a J-hook, it has a lot more freedom to move around as it wants. Speed 4. Does blow a very nice breeze though. Speed 4 is probably ideal because that's the speed where the sound of wind being blown around is mostly drowned out by the the bearing sound is mostly drowned out by the sound of wind being blown around. Because on speeds 5 and 6 the noise gets a lot louder, or in my experience with this fan prior it has. It could be different today, I don't know. And then speeds 1, 2, and 3, there's like not enough of a wind sound. I did sleep with this fan on speed 4 last night and it did a good job. Anyways, speed 5. Usually when I run this fan on speed 5, it does make a like a sort of sound. I'm sure anyone who's dealt with Casablanca fans before knows what sound I'm talking about, but it's not making that today. I guess maybe that's because I gradually eased up the speed as opposed to going straight up to a fast speed. But I'm glad it's not making it for the video. Show the fan at its best, you know? Anyways, now for speed 6. And it does again have a, up there it goes for a second there. And yeah, it does have a bit of a wobble to it again. Yep, there comes the sound. Yeah, that's the sound I was referring to. Granted, it isn't as loud as it was when I first put it up, but yeah, it is still there. And when I first ran the fan, it was there on both speeds 5 and 6, not just 6 by itself. So the WD-40 did help it somewhat, but didn't, like, fix it completely. I'll turn it off. And like I said before, despite the fact that these this fan's bearings are pretty noisy, it does have a pretty good spin down time to it. And I guess before I end the video, I'll show you guys the tag. There's the top, using a down rod from a Hunter Original to be mounted. And there's my rig going over to there, the Intellitouch switch. Anyways, so that's about all. This is my Snow White Casablanca Panama Intellitouch. So, yeah, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.